This is just a quick video explaining some of the basics of horizontal hip figure eights. They are comprised of two movements, your hip horizontal slide or your pelvis slide. And at this point, the line of my leggings, trousers, skirt, whatever, is remaining parallel to the floor and my knees are not going up and down. Okay, and I recommend doing a few of these before practicing your figure of eights. And then come to center, and then same, we have our twists, which are the other component. Just checking in with your knees here. There'll be a slight movement of the knees, I think, but ideally you want them to keep them tracking the middle toes. When we get into the figure of eight, they may move a little bit more, but I'll talk about that in a moment. So you're twisting your hips forwards, and obviously the other one goes back when one comes forward. So we're allowing the whole pelvis to move here. And I'm trying to keep lifted so that my pubic bone, my pelvis can move around the femur, the leg, yeah, so that it kind of gets as much movement as possible without bringing the leg with it too much. But it will, obviously, everything's connected. So then, hip figure eight, front to back. We're going to twist the hips forward, so right hip comes forwards, or whichever you like, and then you're going to slide into the corner and then pull the hip back like you're painting the side wall of the room. Now it's in the back corner and it's going to slide to the other front corner and then pull back and then slide and twist, slide, pull back, slide, pull back, slide, pull back. And as always, there will be a little counter rotation happening in the upper body, but depending on how isolated you want your movement to be, you want to try and control that to make the obvious part of the movement be the hip figure of eight. And then come to center and then back to front. Pretty much the same principle. You're thinking about twisting the hip though to the back corner first and then sliding into that corner and then pulling the hip around and then sliding into the other back corner and pulling the hip around. Check in with the weight placement on your feet. This will shift as you do the movement, and that will help to protect your knees. Ideally, you won't feel any tension in the knees. If you do, I recommend maybe making them move a little bit smaller to start off with and seeing if that helps. And if you're still finding any tension, just let me know and we'll have a look at you in one of our live sessions and see how the movement is looking and see if we can tweak things to keep your knees happy. But the more you stay lifted in your posture and really thinking about that space in between the leg bone and the pelvis bone rather than sinking down into it, and really try and almost lift your feet up off the floor. I know that's a weird thing to think of, but just as long as you're not kind of grinding your feet into the floor and grinding your knees down, if everything is kind of lifting up, then that's going to create a nice space in between the joints. And then you might want to finish with a forwards fold, but you might also want to do just a kind of a loose rotation. So after trying to do this really kind of isolated twisty rotation, now we kind of just want to loosen everything up with some nice rotational embrace.